Hi, and thanks for being here. I'm Jeannie Sikora, a senior engineer with CLEAResult. As part of our core engineering department, I focus on agriculture. I didn't grow up on a farm, but I have a degree in agricultural engineering, and I worked on ag energy issues early in my career. It is one of my favorite topics, and I feel privileged that I'm here talking to you about it today. In the next few minutes, I'll touch on why we want to engage agricultural customers, the challenges of doing that, and some strategies for serving this customer segment. So, what makes agriculture distinct? In general, it's the huge variety of businesses that all fall under the umbrella of agriculture. These are operations that raise animals, grow crops in a field or indoors. They might process products on site through drying, refrigeration, pasteurization, storage, or other post harvest processes that all use energy in different ways. And they operate under vastly different structures. There are contract growers that must adhere to corporate rules and standards, industrial scale animal operations that are subject to oversight from the EPA. And then there's the family farm. One owner holds an off farm job to support the operation, while the other does everything from maintaining the books to helping with the births. But regardless of operational structure, these are busy people that have a lot to manage. Geography also has an impact on this variability. There's an interaction between location and many factors: climate, state and local laws, the availability of land, and access to population centers that might dictate what and how you can produce and sell for a profit. The availability, price, and reliability of energy service can steer how operations use energy. So, although these factors aren't unique to agriculture, when compounded, it highlights the difficulty in engaging this customer. But it's an important customer to reach. Well, selfishly, we can catch some huge fish with indoor ag. Growers are adopting LED horticultural lighting in droves, especially with cannabis. The energy use is intense and the efficient technology is ready for deployment. Our average horticultural lighting project in the East is 3 million kilowatt hours and half a megawatt, and gas savings are averaging 200,000 therms. So, especially for animal ag and field crops, the prescriptive framework is there. There's 13 TRMs that have agricultural measures, and many of those go largely unused. This existing infrastructure can be used to get more savings and improve project cost effectiveness for agricultural customers. Utilities can improve customer satisfaction and build reputation among a customer that's been historically underserved. Given the rapid load growth of indoor ag, we can alleviate the stress on the often vulnerable parts of the grid that are happening due to the electrification of agriculture. Market opportunity. Tremendous growth is happening in the indoor ag industry. For instance, 95% of lettuce consumed in the US is grown in California and Arizona right now. But there's been a nearly fourfold increase in indoor lettuce production over the last 5 years, with no end in sight to those expansions. Greenhouse grown fruits and vegetables are growing at 20% annually. And this doesn't even touch on cannabis. In many operations, energy is a significant operating cost. And there's a collective interest in keeping these essential businesses that supply food and medicine operating and competitive. Many operations are willing to make relatively long-term investments to ensure their future. And utilities are well situated to become trusted advisors and to contribute meaningfully to their customers' success. Of course, those opportunities don't come without their challenges. So first and foremost, the customers are managing biological systems. Their products are susceptible to disease, pests, climate, water, and a host of other factors. Operations have to manage these critical factors first, and often the expense of meeting them is not a primary concern. Outreach to this customer can be challenging. There's the geographic spread, and a chunk of ag customers are served by electric co-ops or on residential meters. Utilities and farms have often been at odds. Going back to the 1930s, when rural areas were fighting to get electricity, and more recently, there's legal cannabis growers who mastered the trade through a legal operation. They used to be afraid of getting caught because their utility bills could tip off the authorities. Most farms don't have key account managers to establish that personal connection with the utility. And beyond the utility, the trade ally networks that serve farms generally aren't those same ones that utility programs leverage for C&I customer engagement. It's hard to determine where ag fits into most programs. Even completing a simple lighting application, which type of building do I select? But besides that lack of awareness, which can hamper any program, farms don't usually have in-house expertise to know which technologies and practices can save energy, how much energy they can save, and what the return on investment would be. And there can be significant financial barriers to participation. Price volatility and low margins dog this customer consistently, and they're very sensitive to any changes that might impact production. There's a strong lending network for conventional farms, but the competition for capital expenditures can be fierce, like when you need $200,000 for a new tractor. And the cannabis industry doesn't have access to conventional commercial lending because it's federally illegal. So there's enhanced barriers there. All these factors make getting incentives to this customer more difficult than it is with other customer types. Luckily, there are many ways that we can and have engaged this customer. Let's start with the language. To help gain trust, it's important to learn etiquette and protocols, like how biosecurity is handled at animal farms or cultivation facilities. It's helpful to know the difference between calf and a cow, a sow and a piglet, or the various stages of cannabis growth. Dig into the data from the National Census of Ag to understand the local industry, and use resources like cooperative extension to identify major energy using systems and saving strategies for these operations. This knowledge can help gain customer trust. Having a dedicated outreach staff can help because the systems are complex and varied. Know that harvest season isn't a good time to make appointments. Understanding the language not only helps build trust, but it can also make those customer touch points more productive. Many institutions have relationships with the ag sector. Let's leverage those and get in the door with the right partner. There's University Cooperative Extension that has ag agents in every state and most counties across the US. NRCS gives farm energy audits, offers grants for upgrades, and presents an opportunity to co-market utility incentives. Ag events can be a good place to reach a regional audience. The counters at ag stores and the sales teams at specialty vendors are another avenue. Cannabis regulatory agencies often have knowledge about growers and planned expansions, sometimes before the utility would know. And farmers talk to each other, so there's those informal networks as well. And these existing networks can amplify the message to a much wider audience than can be accomplished with that hunt and peck strategy for one-off participants. Other strategies are having a landing page for the ag customer in C&I programs and separating horticultural lighting from conventional lighting in program materials, as well as getting targeted promotional materials to existing networks and sales channels. So as I said, most operations don't have the resources to know what technologies or strategies to adopt. So let's tell them, offer holistic assistance to help get projects implemented. This might be assessments that demonstrate return on investment, a concierge service for the application process, and maybe even upfront financing options. So while these high-touch strategies can get expensive, the big whales help pay for the extra effort for those little minnows, and they can be worth the relationships they foster. General rapport building, whether the project is large or small, is valuable to this market. The often tight-knit group will share their experiences. Don't be afraid to acknowledge past problems. It can help show that the public utility is ready to serve and here to stay. So let's make it easier on everyone. There's some great program models out there and pilots that are ripe for replication. Strategic energy management is proving to be a great way to engage this customer that's used to sharing information and receptive to ideas for cost savings. We're trying midstream ag products to boost uptake for those automatic milker takeoffs from the TRMs. Time of use rates for irrigation reduces demand during the growing season, which often coincides with peak demand for many utilities. Benchmarking. Use the Resource Innovation Institute's Power Score tool to help cannabis growers understand metrics like kilowatt hours per pound and how their operation compares to others. This can motivate growers to lower operating costs in order to stay competitive. Incentives for electrical system upgrades can help farms expand and adopt more efficient technology. And we can't ignore new construction. It's happening, and by encouraging the adoption of the highest efficiency systems, we can mitigate the growing pains of these new loads. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you for listening. Here's my contact information. I would love to hear from you. And with that, I'll address any questions that we might have.